Coming out shortly. We're going to get us started with This is the Day, so if you'd please rise and join in the spirit, we would appreciate it. Yeah?
This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Sing that with me. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day to be seized, a day I can feel my spirit set free. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day all my dreams come true. Can feel the Spirit working its way through. Yes, this is the day. It's time to fly higher and higher up in the sky. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it.
One last little act. Welcome, welcome, everyone. Am I on yet?
I was giving you
Oh,
Phil.
there we go. I'm on now. That's right. Little filler while it turns on. Welcome, everyone, and good morning. Thank you for being here at the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Sue Witter. I'm one of the practitioners, and so grateful that you've taken time out of your life. It's always busy, and we have many, many things to do. So stopping and slowing down and honoring the truth of who you are, taking time to come and have the opportunity to expand your heart and your mind, that's such a gift to give yourself, and we're grateful that you took the time to come here to do it with us. So I think that the first thing we have is some breaking news again.
Hi everyone, I'm Olive Philpott.
And I'm Reba Strimple. Welcome to G4G News.
In today's news, an update on Gourmets for God. It's the most anticipated fundraiser of the year and for the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living, and is reported to be the only fundraiser that you can eat. Reports are coming in that events are flooding in, making this year the largest Gourmets for God in history.
They sure have, Olive. Now, the center is looking for more hosts to donate events this year. The more events we have, the more events there will be for you to bid on a spot later on. And everybody wants that. For those of you who want to get in on the fun, you can sign up to be a host by picking up a form at Holmes Base in the bookstore and submitting it in person. You may also find an electronic and printable versions of the form on our website at www.wvcsl.com. And you can snail mail or email them to the center. You can sign up to be to host as many events as you want. Your donation is the time and expense for hosting your fun event that involves food, of course. Donation forms must be received by next Sunday, September 24th. All events are welcome. Cooking is not required, and virtual events are even accepted. Choose a date now and set it in your calendar because these events cannot be rescheduled once bidding is finalized.
Thank you for that update, Reba. Looking forward to seeing all of the creativity from the hosts and the variety of events. In other news, we have a guest on today's program. Scone Rivers is joining us today. She's currently on tour supporting her new book, I Ate Everything, Starting With Me, where she explains her love and adventures with food and her affinity for her namesake, the scone. Tell us, Scone, about the inspiration for the book.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. That was one fun book to write. But I told all kinds of stories about my adventures with food and all about the food experiences that I've had, along with some recipes, just a little for the book. So many of my tales are about food and community that was created while I learned many new things about the people I ate with.
Scone, is there one piece of advice that you can give to people who might be shy to get out there and meet new people or to try new foods?
My best advice is just do it. Just do it. You can't go wrong. Sign up to be a host. It doesn't have to cost a lot. It can be big or small. It doesn't have to be a huge event. It can even be virtual. Bid on something and go by yourself or bring a friend. They're always welcome at our community events. And Gourmet for Gods is a good one. You are guaranteed to have a good time, eat new food, and meet new people, or get to know the old people a little better. Those of us that are mature, what can I say? Honestly, sharing food experiences with strangers is the most rewarding thing I've ever done other than writing this book.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Scone. That does sound like a very rewarding venture. And thank you for all of your advice. Good luck on the rest of your book tour. Her new book, I Ate Everything, Starting With Me, is available now. So get out there and get a copy. And don't forget Scone's advice to take the plunge and host a Gourmets for God event this year. Thank you, folks, for joining us for this morning's edition of G4G News. This is Olive Philpott.
And Reba Strimple.
Signing off.
See you wait. Thank you. See you next week. And remember to eat well, be well, and live joyfully.
And a news desk that just automatically removes itself. We are big time TV here, people. Oh, my goodness, my goodness. We are the place that loves to eat here without question. But Gourmets for God, if you haven't held one as a host or been to them, it is so much fun. So please take advantage. It's great. So let's begin. So the practitioner today is Kay Fontana. She will be providing our prayer this morning. And we have, for those of you who would like prayer from one of the practitioners, we have a prayer box in the back of the room. We have one on home space. And if you'd like one for the whole community to see, there's a wall that's magnetized in the back. You can write a prayer request, and there are little magnets. You can hang it up there so that we can all participate in your prayer request. We have several classes coming up. Reverend Karen's Foundations class has already begun, but you're still welcome to join. And then there'll be a Meet the Minister. If you haven't had that opportunity, Reverend Karen will have on October 1st, after you've had the opportunity to have a little refreshments, to meet in her office and just have the opportunity to get to know her, to ask questions about the philosophy or anything else. It's always a great experience and a good way to connect. And the other class that we have is Regaining Wholeness. Kay and I will be teaching that starting Wednesday night, the 27th of February, starting at 6:30. February. See? Nothing wrong with this tired little brain. February, yeah. I have no idea where that came from. Absolutely none. September 27th. Yeah. September 27th at 6:30. It's an 8-week class called Revealing Wholeness. It's the first time we will have taught this class here at the center. It should be a lot of fun. It's a really fascinating way to look at allowing, rather than forcing, but allowing that wholeness that already exists in you to find its way out. And so there's a sign-up sheet on home space out there. And at the moment, although people have told me that they plan on coming, there's no one's name on the list. So please sign up, and that way we can be sure to have the right number of workbooks available. And then I think that it's time for our vision statement. So each week we say the vision statement. If you'll say that with me, we are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the science of mind principles. And so it is. Taking a class is one really good way to do that. So please join us. And now if you'll just take a moment and allow yourself to settle in for the invocation so that we can be fully open to the experience of the service.
So take a deep breath as we go within.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and
I will make a quiet place within my mind, and I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, Lord.
I will make a quiet place within my life. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
A quiet place. A quiet place is where God resides, in our hearts and our minds. That God, that one life, that infinite presence, that sweet spirit that lives within each one of us, expressing as love, as peace, as joy, as friendships, as family. It is all God. God expressing in everything, every situation, every person in this universe is that divine, beautiful expression of God. And what I know of God, I know of myself and each one of us here today, as we are the expressions of that beautiful, sweet spirit. And I claim and affirm this knowing that in every aspect of our lives, that we are that expression of God, expressing love to each other, expressing love to ourselves, and to all those on this planet, as we are that divine love. And I speak a word of blessing on behalf of the Bradfords, knowing that their beautiful music and harmony touches our hearts and souls in the ways that we can't even imagine. With those beautiful voices that carry this divine music within our hearts. And for each one of us in service today, in this room, and those online and beyond. And for Reverend Karen, knowing that her words are expression of God flowing through her, giving us a message that is individual to each one of us, that we can take home and live in our life. And for all other faith traditions, knowing that there are many paths to that one God. And I'm so grateful for this day. And I release my words into the law, knowing it is already done. It is so. And together we say, and so it is. Excuse me. My reading today is from, is from Buddhist Boot Camp by Timber Hake. I know, he's awesome. And this is from a section in his book called The Healing Power of Love. If you think that love isn't enough, try going without it for a while, and you'll see that it's everything. There is a love-shaped hole in our lives, and no amount of money will ever fill it. Friendship nurture our hearts with that love, just as trees nourish the earth with oxygen. Good friends, therefore, are like a rainforest of affection. Just as anyone would drown without air in their lungs, someone in depression is suffocating without love in their heart. You never know when a random act of kindness could literally save a person's life. So make an effort to meet your neighbors, get to know your coworkers, and befriend your classmates. A stranger is simply a friend you haven't met yet. Never underestimate the healing power of love. It is just as important for our survival as the food that we eat, yet it's free and available in unlimited supply. Love is the strongest medicine. Love is the only force capable of transforming an enemy into a friend, and that is said by Martin Luther King Jr. So let's take a moment to contemplate love and friendship. And so it is.
Love is but a song we sing, fears the way we die.
You can make the mountains ring or make the angels cry.
Though the bird is on the wing, you need not know why. Come on, people now, smile on your brother, everybody get together, try and love one another right now. Some will come and some will go, some will surely pass.
When the one who left us here returns for us at last,
We're but moments sunlight fading in the grass. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try and love one another right now. If you hear the song I sing, you must understand.
you hold the key to love and peace in your trembling hand.
Just one key unlocks them both. It's there at your command. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try and love one another right now. Come on, people now, smile on your brother. Everybody get together, try and love one another right now. Right now, right now, right now.
Oh, that did my heart good. Thank you. That was lovely and a perfect beginning piece of music and perfect reading. And oh my goodness, I love Gourmet for God time. It's such a fun season of just joy. Really good. It's really good today. I just love it every week. So welcome to the West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. I'm Reverend Karen Rice, and I am the spiritual leader of this community. It's just an honor to be here. The title of my message this morning is Kindle a Warm Glow. And I just felt like when I realized that this weekend was the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, a Jewish tradition, I realized how perfect this message was for this particular day. So Rosh Hashanah is the first of the high holy days. It started on Friday and Saturday. It is about atonement and renewal and reflection. And I found the best quote a wonderful quote from a rabbi in his own words describing Rosh Hashanah, the significance. He said, "It is inspiring us to rise above despair and to embrace the promise of a better world." And I'll tell you, that's why I show up here every single Sunday, every Sunday that I'm here anyhow. I come with that very clear knowing that my meaning and purpose in life is very connected to that upliftment in the minds of humanity and the ways in which we each look at our own world and what we can do to participate in shifting the consciousness on this planet so we can have that idea of the promise of a better world. What a beautiful statement. I took the title of the message, Kindle a Warm Glow. I took it from a quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes in his writing called How to Change Your Life. And here's what he said. "Dwell upon the good qualities of those people you love. Dwell upon the good qualities of the people in your life that you love. Kindle within your emotions a warm glow of feeling about those people. And now that you have done that, remember that all other people are just as worthy of your love." So we're all worthy of love, and it's what I really want to talk about this morning is the way we can look at how do we dwell on the good qualities, the God qualities, the high ideas in the divine mind of God and the potential for good as we experience it in our lives and on this planet. And I think that if we look at that idea of kindling warm feelings, Holmes actually said, kindle within your emotions. You know, I hear a charge in that. Like, think about the way you get to choose and play and participate and set intentions for how you will manage your emotions in this thing called life. So, to kindle warm feelings for anything is really about creating an appreciation. It took me right back to seeing that this is a gratitude practice. This is any time anyone or anything in our experience impacts us in a way where we are sort of in awe of we recognize that there's a presence greater than we are, and it's right here in the room with us, or it's up there in that gorgeous formation of clouds, or it's in the way the bird spans it opens its wings and glides through the sky. Those are moments where we're tapping into those God qualities, and that's what I want to talk about today, because when we do that, when we have that kind of appreciation where we can feel it in us, if there's an emotional response in our body, we are generating the emotion of love that we already possess. So we can hear that. Come on, everybody. Let's love one another. And we see that there's a normalcy that's divinely intended for us to have a positive experience in the way we connect with each other. So I hear these words, I hear this passage on kindling that warm glow as sort of an instruction for us. It's the beginning of guiding us into dwelling on good qualities or the God qualities in life, because that time we spend dwelling on that, thinking about that, those are the very places where we are expanding within our own self. We are expanding our ability to love and our ability to see good and to perceive the perfect order in life as it unfolds perfectly, even though we have opinions and judgments. So when we're dwelling on goodness, we are getting that stream of goodness inside of us, moving inside so that we can see it demonstrated in all of our experiences. I was thinking that one of the examples is when I do really appreciate the Arizona sky. I spent most of my life in Southern California, and a wink of time, 4 years, we lived in Arkansas when the kids were little. Oh, that was pretty. That was right in the Ozarks. So that was the first time in my life I had an encounter with seasons. But I love the Arizona sky, and I don't ever want to take it for granted. I don't want to get used to it. And I love that I spend so much time in this building because we have all that glass out front, and I even have a big window in my office where I can see the clouds. And they're stunning, especially this time of year where we get the thunderheads, the big, white, puffy, explosive-looking, gorgeous clouds. And I know that when I see that, I have a something in me, that awe, or an aha moment of beauty, where there's something in me that recognizes it, that connects with it, and it shifts something inside of me when I'm having that appreciation for the beauty in the sky, even though it's a daily affair. It's like something wakes up in us. And when we're awake in that way, we are more likely to notice the beauty in each other and in our other encounters with people and the rest of life. I feel the same way about my dog. When my cute little dog does something absolutely adorable, it just tickles my heart. It changes me from the inside out. And there's an element of tenderness that we can acknowledge. So I love the way she humbles me like that she allows me to have moments of feeling that tenderness, even though, I don't live with another human being. At this time, anyhow, I live and I'm used to it, but, I've gotten used to a different life, and now I really appreciate more so what shows up in those really affectionate moments between me and the dog. And what I know that happens is as I shift in that way where when I shift like that, for a little while I'm different. Right? Think about it. It mellows us. And we know that, they've been telling us for lots of years that when you pet your pet, it lowers your blood pressure. It creates a different rhythm in your heartbeat. It's good for us. And that's because I believe it's those moments of grace, the grace of God, that reshapes us. And we have an opportunity to be fresh and kind and loving. And we also know that it's hard to be bitter or angry in the presence of beauty or sweetness. That's because they don't go well together. One cancels out the other, whichever direction you're heading in. And so I have this very tender moment from when I was a young mother. We were all young once. Isn't that amazing? Then suddenly you're not, but you're doing something more fun, and that's kind of good too. I have this great memory, and this is the kind of thing that I enjoy watching on Instagram or on a Facebook reel. I like seeing the kids and the pets and the cute little things, or people rescuing animals. Brings a little tear to your eye. That it's wonderful to know that there are good people in the world. But I have a memory of a time when my kids were fairly little. Daddy must have been at work. It was a Saturday morning, and I told the kids, and I was very stern about it. Nobody's leaving the house today until your rooms are clean. Today's the day. We're cleaning up this mess, and we're going to get your rooms clean today. So the two older girls, were kind of lickety-split on it because they knew they had stuff they wanted to do outside of the house. But my son, who was like 6 or 7, maybe 5 or 6 probably, he just could not get his act together to clean up his room. And he tried, and he keeps getting distracted, and I'm not really nagging him, but I'm not going to let him off the hook till he gets that room straightened out. Does this sound familiar? It wasn't that long ago in your life, right? Or did you just do it for them, Kathy? Did you make them clean their rooms, Kathy? They had to. Dad's going, oh, no, they did. She hasn't answered. You'll just notice. Somebody needs to be the disciplinarian. Thank you, Rod. So I had this moment where he comes out of his bedroom. God bless him. He's just this cute little guy. Oh, God, he was cute, too. He comes in, he looks at me, and he goes, Mommy, I can't make myself clean my room. I can't. Would you just spank me? And so, I don't know if he was playing me, because the kid is to this day, he's pretty good at touching my heart in unexpected ways like that. But then everything shifted when he was so cute, because now it's like we're making it's a made-for-TV movie on the Lifetime channel, and Mommy's down on the floor, and we're playing with his toys, but getting things in order, and I don't really remember how the day changed, but I will never forget that moment because it was like out of the mouth of babes, right there for me. A precious moment kindles love. That's the bottom line. However it comes, we just want to be open to receive it. Now, if we look at it from a more scientific perspective, in the study of the mechanics of spiritual principle, that even sounds lofty, what we know is that life responds to us at the level of our interaction with it. So whatever attitude I bring, whatever is going on in me, and I approach any task or any relationship, that interaction with that situation is going to reflect exactly at the level of my consciousness at that given moment. And so it shapes then the experience. So it's always interesting that sometimes we'll want to chat about a bad day we had, and then what happened? And we go on and on and on, and we're retelling a story, and usually it gets a little larger. We love hyperbole, some of us. Because it's beneficial for making the story more interesting, we think anyhow. So when we kindle the warm glow that comes from the God qualities, then we're kindling within ourselves. We're fueling the flame of love. We're fueling the flame of goodness. And when we do that, when we awaken ourselves to it in that inner way, we are more likely then to see it, even project it, in an outer way into all of our encounters. And what we know is it's actually even more, we're more connected than we realize, because in quantum physics, they now tell us that then we attract back to us those very qualities. So love wants to be expressed in our connections, and joy wants to be experienced. Nothing better than laughter. And as we embody it in that inner way, then the outer world here is more likely to respond back to us at that same energetic level. And, I think when I think about it, it's why the golden rule is so universal and timeless. And it is why the golden rule is evident in almost every spiritual tradition. There is some variation of treating people well, of being kind to each other. Love God, but love each other. Do unto each other as you want to be done to. And that even precedes biblical scripture. There are sacred writings that have, said those same types of quotes forever and ever. Now, if I go back to that opening quote where Holmes is talking about dwell upon the good qualities of those people that you love, those people in your life, look for their good qualities, kindle that inside of you until you feel it. He speaks in the book that I took that quote from, he speaks also about the what those God qualities are. So let me read that to you. He says, life, love, wisdom, peace, creativity, beauty, and joy. These God qualities are an integral part of you, and they live deep within you. So I want to just expand that. We're not limited to those 7 things. I know some of you can name off all the troward words or how some section where Holmes says them. He lists them different every time he talks about them, because probably the way that we list them is based upon what's going on, or what we need, what we desire to be expressing, instead of whatever mood or attitude we've been carrying. So it's unlimited. Those descriptive words could be expanded in a vast, vast, infinite way. I also like to remind us that the journey of life is not so much about attaining those qualities or reaching some goal where you're living a more enlightened and perfect life. It's not even about developing those qualities. And yet we do know that as you practice this stuff, then it becomes easier to exhibit it, easier to have the experiences of them. But the spiritual truth is already in us, and it's always alive, just waiting for opportunities to be active in this beautiful planet, in this beautiful thing called life, in this universe that we live in and we know is so holy. And I think it's logical then that when I focus on love, when I look at the clouds and I feel the awe of the beauty of something that I didn't make, that I can't make happen, but I can take time to notice. And that it's logical then that there is a transformational something that happens in the cells of our bodies that then is more apparent in the way we live. Right? So if those are God qualities and they're inside of us, peace and joy and creativity and wisdom, if all of that is the God quality that's in us, then it makes sense that when we see beauty or we see something adorable in our pets or our children or grandkids, whatever, that there is a that sense of quickening that happens. Sometimes you feel something, you can feel it shift inside of you. Well, that's a resonance. That's that God quality going, oh, there it is. It's been recognized. And now I'm more aware of it because I not only saw it and noticed it, maybe I was looking for it or expecting it, but now I'm feeling it in my being. And so it's a holy knowing, it's be still and know. There's a holiness in all of that. And we are uplifted. Something is glowing on some level, and that we have sparked a little renewed fire, a flame of truth that we can tap into again. In the field of quantum physics, they're very specific, and they talk about it as a vibration, as an energetic activity, and the scientists more and more are leaning into calling that an activity of spirit itself, of the wisdom of all creation, that intelligence, that all-knowingness, that it's an energetic and completely a vibrational shift in our being when we're conscious of it. And so we can feel that from beauty or joy, but we also feel something from fear and dread. And sometimes we personify fear and dread and negativity. Sometimes we're unhappy with people that have brought negative energy into our little safe circle, our bubble that we try and create for ourselves. But here's the thing. That experience that we feel in the face of fear, whether it's ours or someone else's, in the face of negativity, in going through a challenging time, when you feel that, what you're feeling is the absence of the God quality. So something primal kicks in, and for a minute you've got that, I just always think fight or flight. There's something going on. You're not sure how to make a response in real physical form, and we live in form. We are spiritual beings, but we live in physical form, and there's no getting around that, for now anyhow. There's more, I'm told there's more. But it's the absence of those qualities, and then we ache to be reconnected. So when it stirs something with us and we feel like we need to protect ourselves from a conversation or a person, maybe you have that one relative that you just get stuck with all the time, that you just feel like brings you down, then rather than putting ourselves in a bubble, what if we focused on love? Okay, clearly I'm not feeling the love for this person that I feel for my whoever that person is that's easy to love in your life. So now I'm just gonna fill myself up with the way my cells remember that love, and I'm gonna be open to exhibiting that love, even though I'm feeling uncomfortable in this setting. And things change when we make that effort. I'm teaching a sort of a mini class on Thomas Troward. And Troward is a big piece of the science of mind teaching. Dr. Holmes stumbled on Troward when he was in his late 20s, early 30s, and really understood that it was the missing piece for him in understanding how spirituality works. And Troward very specifically spoke about a vibrational energy. And by the way, Holmes states that we are about, in his opinion, about 25% of the science of mind teaching is based on the work of Troward. So what Troward brings to us is a comprehensive explanation as to how mental healing works. Because that's what we are all about. Every new thought faith, every church that came into being in the last 125, 150 years, that falls under that classic umbrella of new thought. We start because we believe that what you think about matters, and we call that mental healing, or the early people did. And so that's the gift of Troward, and he had a very strong understanding of how our thoughts impact our physical bodies, our physical well-being. So he was convinced, Thomas Troward was very convinced that science and spirituality work by the very same laws. Now, Dr. Ernest Holmes had a slightly different take on that. He would always say, he often says when we're reading his materials or listening to some of his recorded lectures, Holmes would say, if we study the natural laws of physics, we can come to understand how spiritual laws work. But Thomas Troward didn't water it down. Troward said science and spirituality work by the same laws. They are identical. And I rather like that. But either way you hear it, what we can understand is that there's one, that there's one creator of all of life. So there has to be a similarity. There has to be a way everything all connects together. Now, in Troward's theory, of course, everybody that has a theory starts with a premise based on some experience they had in a personal way. Even ourselves, all of our premises of which we have built our entire lives. Some of them aren't very stable down there at the beginning because we can rethink it and we can see that there are uplifting ways to look at some of the things we've been through. And we don't have to spend so much time defending ourselves or apologizing when where we feel we haven't lived up to the way we should look or be or whatever. But Troward's theory was based on his awareness that when he was happy, his life went better. So here are his words, how he described it. He said, when I'm loving and happy, good things seem to happen to me. When my thoughts and my feelings vibrate with the harmony of the one mind, the universal mind, the mind of God, when my feelings and thoughts vibrate in harmony with that one mind, then things are easier. But fear and anger vibrate differently. Fear and anger distort our perception and make us uncomfortable. So he just took his own premise and went, hey, when I do this, I feel better. Now, the interesting thing about Thomas Troward and his wisdom, he was very bright. He was an Englishman who was born and raised for the first part of his life in India because his father was a colonel in the British Army in India. And what that meant was, as a dignitary, the parents don't raise the children. They have very little contact with the kids, but he had nannies. And his nannies were either Hindu or Muslim. And so now he, as a little boy, is enchanted with this variety of religious experience, the rituals, the ways of worship that are touching his life deep at the soul of his being. So he probably came to the planet being a spiritual-minded person with great potential to do great work. But he had this gorgeous, diverse cultural background that allowed him to easily see truth in all religions. Can you see that's a common thread? That's a common thread we see in New Thought and being open at the top. We don't have this need to believe we have the only true religion, and I'm for that. I think that's wonderful that we don't have to think we got it all figured out. And Troward, through his own experimentation, found out that when he was an older man, he had a young man, an adult type person. He had a routine, a spiritual practice that was his devotional. And what he knew, he experimented, and he found out that when he was reading the Bible was personal to him, and that it would bring his thoughts when he read the Psalms, especially the Psalms. I always laugh and go, yeah, that's because they're nice. They're not scary like the prophets and some of the other books back there in the beginning. But he said that the Psalms would bring his thoughts into that universal vibration. They would put him in a space to recognize the goodness of life. And so he read one psalm every day, and then again in his own words, he said, every day I would read I would close my eyes and I would let the words sink in until I could feel the words in my body. This is really good advice for spiritual practice. And Dr. Ernest Holmes had a very similar way that he studied and prepared his soul to dwell into that space of feeling that warm glow. And it did not come from his passion for Troward. He had developed a devotional style when he was a young man. He was a little boy, and he loved nature. So they lived on a farm when the Holmes family, when they were young, and there was the church organist, a lovely woman, would come to their property because they had a wooded area on their farm property. And this church organist would sit in the woods there, and she would paint. But while she was having her beautiful experience in the woods and painting and having this experience of beauty, she would be chatting with the trees and the living parts of the forest. And so the older brothers, because Holmes was the youngest of 9 boys, the older brothers would make fun of her and say, "Oh, she's crazy, she talks to the trees." And as a little boy, Ernest Holmes went to his mother, little Ernie, goes to his mother and he says, "I know why she talks to the trees, because she listens to them." I think there's beautiful advice for us in that. So even as a little guy, he intuited that there's something here for me. He recognized the presence of God even though he didn't have a language for it. He didn't verbalize it in quite that way. Then when he got a little older, and by the way, he was a brilliant man, but he did not like professional education. He couldn't wait to go to school when he was little. He hated when all the brothers would go off to school. And then he finally got to go to school, and he dreaded the repetitiveness and the way you have to memorize stuff and then prove to the teacher that you know it. And so he avoided school, and he never graduated from anywhere. The only certificate he ever earned was from the Leland Powers School of Elocution, and that was because he enjoyed public speaking. And but there was a time period when he was 16 years old, and I see what's happened. Okay, here, better. So he's about 16 years old, and he decides to enroll in the Gould's Academy, which would have been like a community college. I'm gonna guess. I'm gonna sum it up because they went to college young when they did. And he wanted to study all the traditional things like literature and math and Latin. He was going to study Latin. But as soon as he got in the classroom, it was the same old story. He said, in his own words, that his head and his heart could not come together in the classroom, that he really needed to be, very thought-oriented and free and in nature in order for that to happen. He said, my head and my heart wouldn't work in unison. When I was pondering life, when I was reading and communing with nature, that's when it would all come together for him. So now you get an essence of how his spiritual practice began. He was aware of, like Troward, like all of us, he became aware of how he was best fed, how he could get into that warm glow, you might say. So I'm going to read to you from the biography of his life. He used to skip classes at Gould's. He would hire a horse and a carriage from the livery stable, and he would ride off alone into the blue haze beyond the Bethel Hills. And he went back to the old farmland that they lived on. They don't live there anymore, but he went back to that same wooded area, and that's where he would commune with nature. He said he was not as lonely there as he was in the schoolroom. He loved the quiet woods, and he revisited the favorite spot where Miss Hall, the artist organist, had introduced him to the listening trees. And there he reveled in poetry and prose and whatever he wanted to study or read or what he had memorized, and he was speaking the poems to the trees. And then he quotes this Wordsworth poem. I love this. This is one of those things I wished I'd written. Wordsworth said, I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts. Isn't that fabulous? I have felt a presence that disturbs me with the joy of elevated thoughts. And then later on in the writing, Holmes goes on to say, so having had a talk with the trees and myself, with an occasional aside to God, I would drive home in the lavender twilight, go to my bedroom, and read the Bible and other books that were spiritually uplifting to him. Bolstered by pillows, he would lie for a long time in reflection, for the thoughts of youth are long, long thoughts. And then later, while he was in that, so bolstered, so get it. He's out with nature. He's having this communion with nature, a oneness with God in that environment. Then he takes the horse and he gives it back to the stable people, and he goes to his room. He was a boarder at that time, and he lived with a really sagey older lady who had great conversations with him. And he would bolster himself up in bed. He would light candles or the lamp, whatever they had, and he would bolster himself up with those pillows. Imagine you're surrounded by your favorite pillows, and you've got your favorite blanket and whatever, maybe your cute little dog. And then he would reflect on what happened. Often he would read the Bible, and then he would ask himself these questions, and this is important. He would ask himself, who am I? What am I? Why am I here? And who or what is God? They say that he asked to himself daily for the rest of his life. Those were questions that he pondered every day. What is the purpose of the universe? Why am I here? What am I called to do today? These are really wonderful questions we can take with us, and we can use them. And even if you don't write them down, you can take a variation. I think, and the best question of all is, who or what is God? Because I continue to believe if we can expand our idea of God, if we can, find a way to give God a break and get him off that cloud, even though we like clouds, take away that human look of God, we can then have a greater experience in the way that the quantum physicists and the great thinkers of the ages have defined what God is. Know how to kindle that warm glow in your own life. And I have an idea that, I just crossed my mind as I was working with this material. I was thinking that, I think the best way we could kindle a really authentic glow inside of us is to practice self-acceptance, to practice self-love. Because if we can love ourselves, if we can accept ourselves the way we are, warts and all, then we're more likely to be able to be kind and loving to other individuals that we encounter in our life. When we do that, when we have a healthy self-worth, then we recognize that we're valuable just the way we are, and that we sort of reawaken an awareness within us that there's nothing we really need to change or improve or do better. But every day we start where we are and we accept ourselves again. Every day is a new opportunity, and it reminds me of that gorgeous, for 10 years pre-COVID, we said at the end of the service here, every single Sunday we said, something wonderful is happening through me right now. It is this thing called life, and it's in my body, and it's in my mind, and it's in all my experiences. In every encounter I have, something wonderful is happening through me right now. I do think our greatest area of blindness is right there, that we don't get who we truly are. We're blind to it. We just don't appreciate it. And we especially do not understand what we are. Because we are so holy. We are created in the image and the likeness of God. And so I believe that there are questions for us to ponder, questions for us to ask ourselves on a regular basis. And I want you to think of it like homework. Like this is the minister standing up here asking you, pleading with you, please go home. And this week, start pondering those questions. Who am I? What am I? What is God? How can I see this in a more expansive way? And then, if you dare, you can stretch those questions to ask like, what is peace? That perfect peace that's in me, that's a part of my wholeness. How does peace desire to express through me this week? This week, expect it. Allow peace to express in your life. And then go a step further. How does joy want to be experienced in my life? How can I be open to joy? We have a minister that she wrote a book by this title. You got to give God a good time. You know, live your life and give God a good time. Let God have joy, because we're made for that. It's why God created joy for us and created us to have that experience of joy and love. How does beauty desire to appear in my world? Where am I missing beauty in my life? How can I reevaluate what is beautiful? How can I have a better frame of reference, a perspective that is a risen perspective? And that then ultimately leads us to the key question: how does God's love want to show up in my experience of living? If you want to kindle a warm glow, you know what I think? You need a lot of kindling. And so when I go to bed at night, I leave my sitting area messy. I have open books and magazine articles and pencils stuck in things and little, you know me and sticky notes, right? I have it everywhere, on my table, on the footstool, and I get my pillow that I like in my chair. I put it behind my back. I get comfortable. The dog usually wants to sit with me. And then I ask Spirit, what shall we do now? What would you have me read this morning that's going to get me going? And I reach down and I find just the right thing, and I don't read books cover to cover in the morning because I'm not reading to be intellectual. I'm reading to kindle that warmness that's dwelling within me that desires to be a part of my life. That love that desires to change my perspective so that I am ready to meet the day. So I have kindling everywhere, and I let Spirit help me decide what it is we're going to do. And I think that there's something precious about the morning that when I wake up, I know that I'm in charge of me, at least for a little while, and that my soul has been refreshed from my night's rest. And that my soul for that day is untouched by any of the outer effects that are going on in the world. And what that means is I do not check to see what happened to the world. I don't turn the news on. The first thing I do is I feed me the news, the renewing, that Rosh Hashanah energy of being inspired and uplifted in that new day, because I know that's a precious moment. We're still innocent. We're sort of vulnerable. And when we are vulnerable like that, the soul is more open for that holy communion with the divine. It makes the God qualities easily accessible. It's an invitation to those qualities to surface and show up in our morning activities. So as I began the message this morning, I read those words of Holmes: dwell upon the good qualities of those people that you love. Dwell upon it, and then allow your emotions to get involved. Really feel it, he was saying to us. But I saved on purpose, I saved this for my closing words. I want to reread to you that very last line, because he said, dwell on those good qualities. Get that warm glow, kindle that warm glow, and now remember that all other people are worthy of our love. It'll change the world. That's what I wanted to say today. Take a breath. Take a holy breath. And just notice how the piano music is lifting. It's an invitation for us to open and to become aware of those God qualities. For they hover in this room, and they have been stirred within us so that we can be more fully aware of the presence of love and of joy and of peace. I feel the love of God within me in this very moment, and I rejoice in knowing again that it is the activity of Spirit itself within me and within each person. So whether we are sitting together in this sanctuary or we are listening from the safety of our homes, we recognize that right here is God. Right here we are touching the hem of the garment, and we are pulling that wisdom into our memory, into our minds, into our awareness. For divinity is everywhere. And we are permeated with this God stuff, saturated, so that there is a goodness, there is a life, there is peace, there is joy, there is that intelligence that is universal, that is awakening within us so that we might take and manage the tasks that are ours to do this week. So I know that even as we appreciate the beauty of the moving clouds, that an infinite mind is that which has created this atmosphere. And that we then have this beautiful privilege of creating the atmosphere of our own thought. So, feeling the words of inspiration that have been spoken already, feeling the way in which we are invited to move out into the world this week and do what is ours to do. We know that we are empowered, that we are uplifted, because the truth of who we are has been revealed to us at the level of this soul, and it's just a tiny bit more clear. That we are indeed created in the image and the likeness of God. So we are creative beings. And together, as we listen to these powerful words of prayer, we set intention together to create for ourselves this week a life of peace and beauty and joy. A life where we recognize all of our needs are met, and that we are responsible for creating the positivity we desire to experience in our walk of life. And nothing can take that away from us. So we accept this truth. We feel God's love washing over us and cleansing us in such a way that there is healing that is happening, that our physical bodies are transformed, that we are revealing the truth of our wholeness, that the perfection in the cells of our body have an instinct to bring us and restore us to good health, that there is an instinct at the center of our relationships that restores love between us, that heals relationships, that invites forgiveness and acceptance, and that promotes the exchange of love and kindness and goodness. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life, for this opportunity to see that there are structures in place, there are spiritual laws that we can use and make our lives and this world a better place. And so it is with a very grateful heart that I simply release the words of this prayer into that law that responds to us, yes, my child, yes. And so it is done. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Amen.
Grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. Everywhere I look and every face I see is love reflected, shining back to me. I just give thanks for all these simple things, the joy and peace that gratitude brings. That's why I'm grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have. I am so grateful, grateful, grateful for all the love that I have.
Thank you, Bradfords, and thank you, Reverend Karen. What a fabulous talk. That was touched my heart in many, many ways. So it's time for our giving and receiving. And we don't pass the basket, but we have a box in the back, one there as you go into Papke Hall, where we hope you'll join us for some light refreshments, and one out on home space. So if you'll take your tithe or gift in your hand, please just say with me, I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so it is.
Ready?
Please rise for our last song. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Say that with me. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. I ain't thinking about my problems. I'm living now. I'm living now. And I ain't gonna worry about the future. I'm living now. I'm living now. So put your hands up if you feel like having a good time. Put your hands up if you're sharing love with all. Raise your cup if you're hopeful for tomorrow. Put your hands up if you're ready to have some fun. Now sing it. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in a moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in a moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live in a moment. Feels good, don't it? Feels good, don't it? Only got one life, live. Oh, it feels so good to be alive. It feels so good to be alive. One more time. It feels so good to be alive.
So we're going to do it. We're going to have that old affirmation. So repeat it. We'll see if I can remember it. So repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
It is this thing called
Life is in my mind. Life is in my body. And life is in all my experiences. I think it. I feel it. I know it. And I accept it. Just the way that it is. And just the way that it is not. Thank you, life. Amen. Thanks for being here, everybody. Pray often. Love much.